Good morning. It's another BS with Becca. Today we're bringing smiles once again to my mother. We're going to be reading poems from Winnie the Pooh. But I wanted to just say, first of all, sorry I don't have any cows to listen to the poetry today. I think they're on the other side of the hill. With the sound of the rushing water and a few birds in the background, let's hear from A. Milne, Now We Are Six. So today we start with a poem that they used to give the book its name. When I was 1, I had just begun. When I was 2, I was nearly new. When I was 3, I was hardly me. When I was 4, I was not much more. When I was 5, I was just alive. But now I am 6. I'm as clever as clever. So I think I'll be 6 now, forever and ever. By the way, I am 6, in fact. Our next is Waiting at the Window. These are my 2 drops of rain waiting on the window pane. I'm waiting here to see which the winning one will be. Both of them have different names. One is John and one is James. All the best and all the worst comes from which of them is first. James has just begun to ooze. He's the one I want to lose. John is waiting to begin. He's the one I want to win. James is going slowly on. Something sort of sticks to John. John is moving off at last. James is going pretty fast. John is rushing down the pane. James is going slow again. James has met a sort of smear. John is getting very near. Is he going fast enough? James has found a piece of fluff. John has hurried quickly by. James was talking to a fly. John is there and John has won. Look, I told you. Here's the sun. Next, this poem is explained. And this is perfect for me. I actually have a little bit of a background in theology. And theology, theo means God, logi is words about God. So here is a little theology poem I'm going to sneak in on you that you didn't think you were going to be getting from Winnie the Pooh. Explained. Elizabeth Ann said to her Nan, "Please, will you tell me how God began?" "Somebody must have made him, so who could it be? 'Cause I want to know." And the nurse said, "Well." And Anne said, "Well, I know you know, and I wish you'd tell." And Nurse took pins from her mouth and said, "Now then, darling, it's time for bed." Elizabeth Ann had a wonderful plan. She would run round the world till she found a man who knew exactly how God began. She got up early, she dressed and ran, trying to find an important man. She ran to London and knocked at the door of Lord High Doodledom's coach and 4. "Please, sir, if there's anyone in, however and ever did God begin?" The Lord High Doodledom lay in bed, but out of the window, large and red, came Lord High Coachman's face instead. And the Lord High Coachman laughed and said, "Well, what put that in your quaint little head?" Elizabeth Ann went home again and took from the ottoman Jennifer Jane. "Jennifer Jane," said Elizabeth Ann, "tell me at once how God began." And Jane, who didn't much care for speaking, replied in her usual way by squeaking. What did it mean? Well, to be quite candid, I don't know, but Elizabeth Ann did. Elizabeth Ann said softly, "Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Now I know." So now, while we're on the topic of girls and wisdom, the good little girl. It's funny how often they say to me, "Jane, have you been a good girl? Have you been a good girl?" And when they have said it, they say it again. "Have you been a good girl? Have you been a good girl?" I go to a party, I go out to tea, I go to an aunt for a week at the sea. I come back from school or from playing a game. Wherever I come from, it's always the same. "Well, have you been a good girl, Jane?" It's always the end of the loveliest day. "Have you been a good girl? Have you been a good girl?" I went to the zoo and they waited to say, "Have you been a good girl? Have you been a good girl?" Well, what did they think that I went there to do? And Why should I want to be bad at the zoo? And should I be likely to say if I had? So that's why it's funny of Mommy and Dad, this asking and asking in case I was bad. Well, have you been a good girl, Jane? Now we're going to have buttercup days because if you could see it, you'd know still my fields are covered with buttercups. Buttercup days. Where is Anne? Head above the buttercups, walking by the stream. Down among the buttercups, where is Anne? Walking with her man. Lost in a dream, lost among the buttercups. What has she got in that little brown head? Wonderful thoughts that can never be said. What has she got in that firm little fist of hers? Somebody's thumb, and it feels like Christopher's. Where is Anne? Close to her man, brown head, gold head, in and out the buttercups. Our next poem is Cherry Stones. Tinker, tailor, soldier, sailor, rich man, poor man, plowboy, thief. And what about a cowboy, policeman, jailer, engine driver, or pirate chief? What about a postman or a keeper at the zoo? What about the circus man who lets the people through? And the man who takes the pennies for the roundabout and swings? Or the man who plays the organ? Or the other man who sings? And what about a conjurer with rabbits in his pockets? And what about a rocket man who's always making rockets? Oh, there's such a lot of things to do and such a lot to be that there's always lots of cherries on my little cherry tree. And this one is called Busy. I think I am a muffin man. I haven't got a bell. I haven't got the muffin things that muffin people sell. Perhaps I am a postman. No, I think I am a tram. I'm feeling rather funny and I don't know what I am. But roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go, all around the table in the nursery. Roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go. I think I am a traveler escaping from a bear. I think I am an elephant behind another elephant who isn't really there. So roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go. I think I am a ticket man who's selling tickets, please. I think I am a doctor who is visiting a sneeze. Perhaps I'm just a nanny who is walking with a pram. I'm feeling rather funny and I don't know what I am. But roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go. All around the table in the nursery, roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go. I think I am a puppy, so I'm hanging out my tongue. I think I am a camel who is looking for a camel, who is looking for a camel, who is looking for its young. So roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go. Now, all of us who are in lockdown and are feeling a little bit lonely, here's a positive look on solitude, which is the name of this poem. Solitude. I have a house where I go when there's too many people. I have a house where I go where no one can be. I have a house where I go where nobody ever says no, where no one says anything, so there is no one but me. And now, as an anecdote to the solitude, and a perfect one to end on, here's a lovely one about us two. Wherever I am, there's always Pooh. There's always Pooh and me. Whatever I do, he wants to do. Where are you going today, says Pooh. Well, that's very odd, 'cause I was too. Let's go together, says Pooh. Says he, let's go together, says Pooh. What's twice 11? I said to Pooh. Twice what? Said Pooh to me. I think it ought to be 22. Just what I think myself, said Pooh. It wasn't an easy sum to do. But that's what it is, said Pooh, said he. That's what it is, said Pooh. Let's look for dragons, I said to Pooh. Yes, let's, said Pooh to me. We crossed the river and found a few. Yes, those are dragons, all right, said Pooh. As soon as I saw their beaks, I knew. That's where they are, said Pooh, said he. That's where they are, said Pooh. Let's frighten the dragons, I said to Pooh. That's right, said Pooh to me. I'm not afraid, I said to Pooh, and I held his paw and I shouted, shoo, silly old dragons, and off they flew. I wasn't afraid, said Pooh, said he. I'm never afraid with you. So wherever I am, there's always Pooh. There's always Pooh and me. What would I do, I said to Pooh, if it wasn't for you? And Pooh said, true. It isn't much fun for one, but two can stick together, says Pooh, says he. That's how it is, says Pooh. Thanks, Mama. I hope you enjoyed the poems and everybody else. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.